They said it was just an old workers' cemetery. No signs, no gates, no names. But when Darren, a young technician, crushed through a midnight offering, he awoke something forgotten. What began as whispers in the dark became nights haunted at the same minute, 2:11 a.m. Each sound, each flicker, each missing frame of footage pulled him deeper into a truth buried under decades of silence. Now, between apology and damnation, Darren must decide. Will he remember the dead or join them? Quick pause before the chills continue. Tell me in the comments where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to subscribe, because once we reach 1,000 subs, I'll unlock a brand new schedule, multiple ghost stories every day. You don't want to miss it. They say it's just an old workers' cemetery at the edge of the city. No signs, no gates, no official record. But every night, like clockwork, someone leaves offerings there, and people avoid that stretch of road as if their lives depend on it. Darren Yeo didn't believe in any of that. He was a 26-year-old mechanical technician working swing shifts at a manufacturing plant in Singapore's industrial zone. He was pragmatic, efficient, and proud to live without superstition or sentiment. On his rides home past midnight, he often saw a thin old man wearing a faded security uniform, crouched near a flat stone beyond the perimeter fence, carefully placing a small cake, a juice box, and a single white candle. Sometimes the candle flickered before Darren's bike even reached the bend. He'd roll his eyes thinking, people still believe in ghosts like it's the 70s. But that one night, something was different. He was riding a little faster than usual. A light drizzle had started. As he approached the cemetery curve, he saw what he thought was a child, crouching near the candle, hands clasped together, face hidden. The figure was too still, too quiet. He blinked, and it was gone. Startled, Darren swerved slightly, and in doing so, his front wheel crushed through a plastic plate, sending pieces of a bean pastry rolling into the grass. He didn't stop, didn't even look back. But he remembered, for the first time in years, what fear felt like.
Darren told himself it was nothing. He tried to rationalize what he saw. Maybe it was a pile of bags. Maybe a streetlight cast a weird shadow. Maybe the old man had crouched lower than usual. Either way, he didn't slow down. He didn't stop to ask questions. But that night, as he was brushing his teeth, something tugged at him. A blurred mental image he couldn't quite shake. A child-sized figure, facing away from the road, shoulders slightly hunched, as if praying? He opened the RideCam app on his phone and scrolled through the feed from his helmet camera. As always, the footage was there. The dim road, the flicker of the candle, the old man's silhouette. But the child? Nothing. Not even a flicker. Frame by frame, second by second, only the plate of pastries was visible, untouched, until his front wheel blurred the screen with a moment of impact. That unsettled him more than he cared to admit. The next day at work, he brought it up offhandedly to a colleague. "You ever pass that road by the old workers' camp, near that fenced-off field?" The guy glanced up and frowned. "You mean the one where the weird stone is? My Grab driver won't even go that way at night." "Why not?" He shrugged. "They say it watches, or listens. Don't know. Doesn't feel right." Back at home that evening, Darren found himself staring at the pastry crumbs on his tires before heading up the stairs. He wiped them off with a tissue and paused. His hands were shaking. That night, just as he was drifting off, a soft clicking noise echoed in the hallway, like the sound of plastic wheels rolling slowly over tile. But when he opened the door, there was nothing. The lights flickered once, then silence. In the background, his ride cam app gave a final notification. Playback error. Footage missing. 12:09 a.m. to 12:15 a.m. Just around the time he had passed the bend.
The first night, it was just a sound, a faint, high-pitched giggle, like a child trying to hold in laughter. Darren sat up in bed, convinced his neighbor's TV was on too loud. But when he opened his door to check the hallway, it was empty and dead silent. He glanced at the time, 2:11 a.m. The second night, it happened again, only this time the laugh was closer. It didn't echo, it was crisp. It sounded like someone was crouching just beneath his window. Darren lived on the second floor. By the third night, his laptop shut down exactly at 2:11 a.m., mid-project. Not a crash, not a power issue, just off. When he tried to reboot it, the keyboard lights flickered in the same rhythm he'd seen on the candle by the stone. He didn't sleep that night. The fourth night, he found his morning coffee spilled all over his desk before he even touched it. His Bluetooth headphones, left charging overnight, had been moved to the edge of the sink. His toothbrush was soaked in milk. Small things, weird things, childlike things. Ferez, his housemate, finally asked, "You've been acting off. What's going on?" Darren hesitated, then gave a nervous laugh. "You'll think I'm crazy, but I ran over a food offering a few nights ago, near that old lot with the flat stone." Ferez didn't laugh. Instead, he slowly closed the fridge, turned to Darren, and said, "That place isn't for the living." Darren scoffed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You're not the first. People avoid that road for a reason. You don't take what isn't given." Darren rolled his eyes, but didn't argue. For once, he wasn't so sure of himself. That night, when he got home, he saw it. His shoes, perfectly aligned at the door, had been moved. One pointed toward the living room, the other toward the front door. Ferez had been gone all evening. The next morning, Darren looked at his phone and saw 12 consecutive ride cam errors, all time-stamped at 2:11 a.m. 5 nights, 1 exact minute, every single time. And something about the number felt deliberate.
By the fifth night, Darren was running on less than 3 hours of sleep. He had dark circles under his eyes. He jumped at small sounds. His phone buzzed once, and he flinched so hard he knocked over his drink. That night, he fell asleep on the couch, fully clothed, the TV playing a muted travel show in the background. At exactly 2:11 a.m., he woke up choking on air. Something was pressing down on his chest, not with weight, but with presence. It felt like he was being watched from inside his own body. Then came the soft breathing, right behind his left ear, rhythmic, childlike. He turned. Standing 3 feet away was a small figure, motionless, head slightly tilted. The face wasn't finished, as if sketched in pencil but never completed. No eyes, just shadow where the mouth should be. He screamed, jumped up, grabbed the remote, and hurled it across the room. But when he flipped the light switch, there was nothing. Not even footprints. He left the apartment and sat in the stairwell until sunrise. At work the next day, he wasn't himself. He forgot to tighten a compressor valve, nearly causing a chain reaction on the floor line. His supervisor gave him a warning. A second mistake like that could cost him his job, or worse, injure someone.
During his break, Darren opened the cam app again, hoping for proof, but that night's file was gone, replaced by a single frame, a blurry photo of his own living room, viewed from a low angle. There was a small handprint on the edge of the table. He didn't remember any child ever entering their apartment. Later that day, he called Perez and asked, "Have you ever seen anything standing in the hallway at night?" There was a pause. Then Perez quietly said, "You should talk to Mr. Go."
Mr. Go didn't speak much. He was the kind of man who could stare at a candle's flame for 10 straight minutes and never blink. Darren found him exactly where he always was, by the stone, sitting on a folding stool, peeling the wrapper off a bean pastry like it was a sacred ritual. The flame of a single white candle danced beside him, even though there was no wind. "I need to ask you something," Darren said, careful not to raise his voice. Go didn't look up. "You drove through the offering," he said plainly. "Didn't think I saw, did you?" Darren swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. I wasn't looking. I just— Doesn't matter if you meant to or not," Go interrupted. "Some things don't care about intent." There was a long pause. "What is this place?" Darren asked. "Why here? Why every night?" Go exhaled through his nose, like letting go of a memory he'd been gripping too tightly. 20 years ago," he said, "there was a temporary shelter here for kids during the housing crisis." Darren blinked. He'd never heard of such a thing. 3 children died when the roof collapsed during a storm. They were supposed to be moved that week. The city forgot. Everyone did. But I didn't. He finally turned to Darren, and for the first time there was emotion in his voice. Not fear, not superstition, grief. They were just kids. Nobody lit joss sticks, no names on tombstones. They just disappeared. So I offer something, not to worship, just to remember. Darren said nothing. What could he say? "And now," Go added, "you've stepped on what little was left of their memory." Silence stretched between them. Darren stared at the flickering candle. "Can I fix it?" he asked softly. Mr. Go considered him, then finally nodded once. "That depends. You planning to light the candle or just apologize because you're scared?" Darren didn't tell anyone where he was going that night. He stopped by a 24-hour mini-mart and bought the exact items he remembered: a bean pastry, a small carton of milk, and a white tea light candle. Not because he believed it would fix anything, but because, deep down, he hoped it might. He also brought a piece of plain paper and wrote a letter. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. You deserved better than being forgotten. I remember you now. I promise I won't forget again." He folded it twice, no name on the outside. At 1:55 a.m., Darren stood in front of the stone. The road was silent. No cars, no wind, no insects. The air felt thick, like it was holding its breath. He laid the pastry down carefully, set the milk beside it, lit the candle, then placed the note behind everything, anchored with a small stone. He stepped back. 3 steps. Then he waited. No prayers, no chants, just silence. His phone buzzed at exactly 2:11 a.m., but he didn't look at it. He even didn't move. The flame on the candle flickered once, then stood still, unnaturally steady. A minute passed, then 2, and then something shifted. The air felt lighter. The pressure behind his eyes eased.
The hair on his arms, which had been standing up for days, finally lay flat. He didn't hear laughter, he didn't see shadows, he just felt calm. When Darren turned to leave, he didn't dare look back at the stone, not out of fear, but respect. That night, for the first time in nearly a week, he slept straight through. No dreams, no waking up in a cold sweat. Just the kind of sleep you have after doing something that mattered.
The next morning, sunlight felt strange, too warm, like it didn't belong in the same world Darren had been trapped in for the past week. He woke up without an alarm. No jolting awake at 2:11, no cold sweat, no sense of being watched. Just light, quiet, breath. Perez was already up, scrolling through his phone in the kitchen. He looked up when Darren walked in. "You slept?" Darren nodded slowly, still unsure if he was dreaming. "All night," he said. "Didn't hear a thing." Perez tilted his head. "You look normal again." It was the first time in days someone had said something to him that didn't carry tension. Darren sat down, poured himself coffee, and stared out the window. For once, there was nothing to analyze. No shadows darting by, no odd reflections, just a tree, a bird, a bus passing. That afternoon, he opened the RideCam app again. This time, no errors. The footage from the night before had recorded cleanly. He scrolled to the section around 2:11 a.m. He saw himself in the footage, standing at the stone, still and silent, the candle flickering beside him. But something caught his eye. For exactly 4 seconds, right after he placed the note, the footage showed what looked like a smaller shape beside him. Faint, almost transparent, a childlike silhouette facing the offerings, not him. It didn't move, didn't turn. Then it was gone. Darren paused the video, hands trembling, not from fear, but from a strange emotion he couldn't name. Was that acceptance? Later that night, he passed by the stone again. The candle had burned out, the pastry was gone, the milk carton empty, straw missing. He didn't say anything. He just nodded toward the stone. And for the first time, he felt that maybe they had nodded back.
A week passed. Darren fell back into routine, work, dinner, sleep. But now, he made a point to take the longer route home, just to pass by that stretch of road, just to glance at the stone. Each night, the area remained empty. No pastries, no candles, no Mr. Go. Until the 8th night. At 2:05 a.m., Darren slowed his motorbike as he approached the bend. The air was thick again, not ominous, just heavy. Then he saw it. A new offering. But it wasn't his, and it wasn't Mr. Go's either. It was a smaller pastry, neatly wrapped in plastic. A juice box with the straw pre-punched, placed carefully beside it. And a candle, not white, but pale green, flickering unnaturally slow. Darren parked at a distance and approached on foot. There was no note, no incense, no signs of anyone nearby. But something about it felt wrong, too perfect, too placed. He reached into his jacket and took out the folded letter he had written for the kids. He still carried a copy, just in case. He placed it gently beside the new offering, unsure why. And then a voice behind him. "Not all spirits accept apologies, you know." Darren turned. Mr. Go was leaning on his cane, watching from the shadows of a bus stop shelter. "You didn't do this?" Darren asked. "No," Go replied, "and neither did the ones I remember." He looked at the green candle for a long moment, his face unreadable. "Sometimes, when you say sorry loud enough, something else hears it, something that wasn't even looking for forgiveness in the first place." Darren felt a chill run through him. "Then what do I do?" Mr. Go shrugged, turned away, and said quietly, "Some doors stay closed because no one knocks, but once they're open—" He didn't finish the sentence, just walked into the dark, the sound of his cane tapping, fading into the distance. Darren stayed there for a moment longer, staring at the candle. It flickered once, then leaned toward him.
Darren never passed that road without slowing down again. He didn't avoid it out of fear, but out of respect. Every month, on the 11th, he left a small offering at the stone. Sometimes just a pastry, sometimes a folded note. Always the same message: I remember you. And strangely, he began to notice others did too. One morning, there'd be a second pastry, clearly fresh. Another time, a hand-drawn picture of 3 smiling stick figure kids taped to the back of the stone. Darren never saw who left them. Mr. Go appeared less often, and when he did, he never stayed long. "I won't be around forever," he once said, tapping the stone. "But maybe they won't need me after all." Darren had changed. He no longer brushed off things he didn't understand. He stopped making fun of rituals. He no longer scoffed when someone lit a candle on a sidewalk corner. One night, as he passed the stone, he noticed something that made him stop cold. There was a new offering, but this time it was different. A modern flashlight switched on and pointed at the sky. And beneath it, a note written in blocky, childish handwriting. "For the boy who said sorry, so you can see next time." Darren's eyes stung. He didn't know if it was from the wind or from something else. As he stood there, a quiet thought formed in the back of his mind, one he didn't dare say out loud. Maybe they remember him too. In today's world, we scroll past sidewalk candles, ignore old superstitions, and call anything spiritual nonsense. Darren did too, until he drove over an offering meant for someone who'd been forgotten. This story isn't just about ghosts. It's about memory, about people who were left behind in the rush of a growing city, about the power of a genuine apology, and how even when we think no one's listening, something might be. You don't have to believe in spirits to feel the message here. It's a reminder that silence can speak, and sometimes forgotten places hold the loudest echoes. The real fear isn't ghosts. It's being erased, completely, silently, and forever. So maybe the next time you pass a candle on the sidewalk, you'll pause, even for just a second. And maybe that second is all it takes to remember someone who thought they'd been lost for good. If this story gave you chills, made you think twice, or even feel a little less alone, drop a comment below and tell us, have you ever seen something no one else did? Hit that like button if this story deserves to reach more people. Share it with a friend who says they don't believe in ghosts, and see what they say after this. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow's story will make you rethink that time you heard a laugh, but no one else was there.